Right, so welcome back to another video on this channel. Welcome back to another episode of my Premier League Game Week predictions series. This is of course now Game Week 22, and the games in recent weeks have come, really thick and fast. And yeah, last weekend I did get myself 4 points, which is just absolutely dreadful. So hopefully now somehow we can get better than last weekend, and it really shouldn't be that hard if I'm honest. But yeah, you never know with me. So before I do get into this video, I would like to quickly ask you guys to subscribe to the channel because if you haven't already, we are closing in now on 1,300 subscribers. So if we could hit that as soon as we possibly can, that would be very much appreciated by myself. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because it costs you absolutely nothing and would very much make my day, so it is very much a win-win situation. And yeah, without further ado now, let's get into predicting these Game Week 21 fixtures. Starting off with the game at Bramall Lane, and that is Sheffield United versus West Bromwich Albion. Now, this game is absolutely massive, of course. It is the current bottom two in the Premier League. Sheffield United followed up that massive result at Old Trafford last week against Manchester United with a narrow defeat at the Etihad to Manchester City. West Brom did get themselves a point at the Hawthorns last weekend against Fulham in that 2-2 draw, and they have made themselves a few signings like Mbaye Diagne, obviously Robert Snodgrass, and they are on the verge of signing Okay Yekuzlu, who is of course a Turkish midfielder. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really find this one near impossible to predict, simply because of the fact that, as I said, it's the bottom two teams and both are on par with each other this season. But I think the Sheffield United are just about that, the better team here in this one, and that is why I've gone for a marginal Sheffield United victory. I've gone with Sheffield United 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. But yeah, overall should be a very tight game between two sides that of course very much need the points in their battle to beat the drop. Now onto the game at Molineux, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Arsenal. Now, Wolves really struggling at this moment in time, did lose 1-0 at the weekend to Crystal Palace courtesy of an Ebereki Eze goal, and obviously they haven't won since mid-December when they beat my club Chelsea at Molineux. And yeah, obviously the last time these two sides did play, that was the game that Raul Jimenez did get that injury, and since then it's really gone downhill for Wolves this season. Arsenal now 7 undefeated in the league now. They're on really good form at this moment in time. Did get a 0-0 draw at the Emirates against Manchester United on Saturday evening, and might have Kieran Tierney and Bukayo Saka back for this one. So if that is the case, that would be massive. Two massive players returning to their starting 11 for this one. And I do feel like Wolves could potentially win this one and upset the apple cart, because of course Wolves are on really bad form and Arsenal on really good form, and normally in the Premier League script that is what tends to happen, is that the worst team will win the game. But I just feel like Arsenal, they are definitely the favourites for this one, there's no doubt about that, and I just do feel like it will be a draw, and that's why I have gone for Wolves 1, Arsenal 1. Yeah, I just think this perfectly is set up for a draw, and overall it should be a very good game between two sides that are very much differing on the form table. Now onto the game at Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Southampton. Now, United may be starting to gather a bit of pressure. I mean, they lost to Sheffield United, of course, in that massive shock last week, and now, of course, 2 points dropped, you could say, at the Emirates against Arsenal as well, and this is another very tough test against Southampton, who, of course, are on really bad form themselves. They've lost the last 3 games, Southampton, although I will say that they lost to Aston Villa 1-0 at the weekend at St Mary's, and they were absolutely robbed, because I purely do believe that they should have had a penalty for a handball on Matty Cash, and Danny Ings, of course, did get a goal disallowed for offside in injury time, which I think was an absolutely laughable decision again. And to be honest, for some reason I just can't picture Southampton losing 4 in the bounce, but at the same time I really can't picture United losing yet more points in their so-called title challenge, and that is why I have gone for a marginal Manchester United win, and I've gone for Manchester United 2, Southampton 1, and I just feel like Southampton, because they're missing a few players as well, a few key starters, I think United will just about edge back to winning ways in this one. Now onto the game at St James's Park, and that is Newcastle United versus Crystal Palace. Now, Newcastle pulled off a massive shock at Goodison Park in that 2-0 win on Saturday evening, and obviously Alan Saint-Maximin, he makes them just look absolutely well better than they are without him, because I think he actually could be the difference in Newcastle, staying up or going down, I think, this season. He's that important to Newcastle. Palace did get themselves back to winning ways as well after a bit of indifferent form, thanks to, of course, as I said, that Ebereki Eze winner against Wolves at Selhurst Park at the weekend. Eze once again showing his class, and of course Crystal Palace did recently sign Jean-Philippe Mateta on loan with an obligation to buy, so could he potentially make his Crystal Palace debut in this one? He does seem like a very promising striker, and I think this will be very tight, to be honest, because it's two sides that are very similar in terms of their playstyle at times, in terms of the fact that they're both very dogged, both have, some decent options on the counter-attack, but I just feel like Palace are that bit stronger, and I do think that Palace, if there is to be a winner in this game, will be the more likely side to win this game. But overall I've gone for a goalless draw, because of course this game on paper does seem like it will be a goalless draw, and of course I've gone for Newcastle 0, Crystal Palace 0, and yeah, overall I just feel like I can't go against anything other than the 0-0 draw in this one. Now onto the game at Turf Moor, Burnley versus Manchester City, who are of course high and flying for the Premier League title at this moment in time, and Burnley were narrowly defeated by Chelsea at the weekend. I say narrowly, it was pretty comfortable for Chelsea, I have to admit, and this will be another very tough game for them in my opinion against the current title favourites. And yeah, overall of course we didn't give Burnley a sniff of a chance against Liverpool, so who is to say that Burnley could not host Manchester City and take points off them, if not all 3. But I just feel like City, they just can't stop winning at this moment in time. It's now 8 8 wins on the bounce in a row in Premier League, and yeah, overall they just look absolutely unbreakable. Even without Kevin De Bruyne, they still are getting goals and they're just grinding out points constantly. And to be honest, as much as I want to, I really cannot bet against this Manchester City team in this game, and simply for that reason I think they will win this one, and that is why I've gone for Burnley 1, Manchester City 3. And yeah, I think that City will finally concede a goal, but I just don't think Burnley will have enough to obviously upset the apple cart and cause a shock in this one. Now onto the game at Craven Cottage, Fulham versus Leicester. Now Fulham might begin to worry in this one because of course they needed to win against West Brom at the weekend in my opinion, and I really think Fulham need to start turning those draws into wins because that's been one of their main problems, especially over the last month or so. But of course now Fulham, in the last game they played Leicester, did actually win 2-1 at the King Power Stadium, but I think this is a massive game for them, and I think they really need to start winning games soon because the gap between them and Brighton after that Brighton 1-0 win against Spurs last night is now 7 points. So it's kind of starting to extend, so I think the Fulham really need to start winning games, as I said. Leicester were kind of halted by Leeds yesterday, of course a 3-1 defeat for them at the King Power Stadium to the newly promoted side, and could Leicester be having a bit of a repeat of their antics last season when of course they had a really good start to the season and then dropped off in the new year and just slumped and bottled the Champions League qualification. And of course Leicester are still missing Jamie Vardy up front, who in my opinion is a humongous loss for them, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons why they've been so poor in these last 2 games against Everton and Leeds. However, I do think that Leicester will just about bounce back in this one. I've gone for Fulham 0, Leicester City 2, and however I can see Fulham maybe nicking a win here, but overall I just feel like in terms of logic I just think that Leicester are the stronger of these two sides at this moment in time, and I think that Leicester will bounce back after those 2 disappointing results against Everton and Leeds. And speaking of Leeds, we move on to the game now at Elland Road between Leeds United and Everton. Now Everton lost to Newcastle at the weekend. They just looked void of ideas, void of creativity, and for all the good they do this season, Everton, they have had those games this season where they just do look void of ideas and void of creativity and look really, really poor, and the game against Newcastle on Saturday afternoon was one of those occasions. Leeds now have won back-to-back games in the Premier League, of course, firstly against Newcastle at St James's Park and now against Leicester City at the King Power Stadium. They really looked inspired, they really looked like they did at the start of the season, Leeds at the weekend against Leicester, and they will now want to be making that 3 wins from 3. However, this will be very difficult because, of course, as I said, even though Everton were really poor at the weekend against Newcastle, they can perform, and they only are missing Alan, who I still think is a massive miss, but the rest of the squad is fully fit for this one. I think this should be a brilliant game on paper, to be honest, between 2 sides that are very good this season, very good going forward, and not the best at times defensively, I would have to say. I think this will be tight, I think it will be a draw, and I think there could be goals in this one, and that is why I've gone for Leeds United 2, Everton 2, and yeah, as I said, I do think that this will be a relatively high scoring draw. Now onto the game at Anfield, Liverpool versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Now Liverpool well and truly back on form after 2 very convincing wins over Tottenham and West Ham respectively, and this game will be massively important to pick up 3 points ahead of that game they have on Sunday against Manchester City at Anfield, which is going to be absolutely huge in the title picture. Brighton really did shock Tottenham last night in that 1-0 win, and they did look a lot better, and I think Brighton just keep grinding out those points every now and then, and they are actually not on the worst of form at this moment in time because they're now unbeaten in their last 3 Premier League games, and they've taken 7 points from a possible 9 in their last 3 games this season. But this is another level of difficulty against the Liverpool team, who, as I said, at home are just absolutely unbreakable apart from that Burnley result last week, and are back on form now, Liverpool as well. So I said this in the game against Burnley that Liverpool did lose at Anfield, but I just can't really picture Brighton going to Anfield and actually getting anything, and now that I said that, thank me Brighton fans, because you will go and win this game now that I said that. But no, in all seriousness, I do think Liverpool will win this one relatively comfortably. We'll go into that game against City at Anfield on Sunday on a high. I think it will be Liverpool 3, Brighton 0, and yeah, I just think the Premier League script would just refuse it to go any other way than 3-0 Liverpool in this one. Now onto the game at Villa Park, Aston Villa versus West Ham United. Now Villa, I think it's fair to say, were massively fortunate against Southampton at the weekend. As I said, I thought Southampton were absolutely robbed in that one of a penalty and a disallowed goal in injury time. However, I do think Villa, I'm not going to, disregard Villa whatsoever, because I think they're one of the most balanced teams in the Premier League. I really enjoy watching them this season, and I think they do have lots of quality in that team. But as do West Ham, and West Ham suffered a minor setback at the weekend against Liverpool last night, but even still, I think West Ham are really, really strong this season. I mean, there's a reason why, they're in the Europa League spots at this moment in time. They really have shocked a lot of people this season under David Moyes. Could Jesse Lingard make his West Ham debut? I think he probably will come off the bench in this one, but yeah, overall, I just feel like these are 2 very solid sides at both ends of the pitch, and for that reason, I just think I can't separate these 2 sides. I think it will be a draw. I think it will be Aston Villa 1, West Ham United 1, and yeah, both sides with no major injuries. Both sides, have fully fit squads, and I think this has a 1-1 draw written all over it. And now on to the final game of this game week, Tottenham Hotspur versus my club Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A massive game in the race for top 4, made even more huge by the fact that Spurs, of course, now are on back-to-back defeats to Liverpool, and last night in that shock defeat at the Amex against Brighton. So the pressure will be getting to Spurs, especially with the fact as well that they are missing Harry Harry Kane, and I think that was, definitely shown in that game against Brighton last night, because they really lacked cutting edge going forward. They really lacked that outlet up front. Chelsea, of course, themselves are still learning under Thomas Tuchel's management, and did manage to get their first win in the Tuchel era against Burnley at the weekend in that 2-0 victory, courtesy of goals from Azpilicueta and Marcus Alonso, who's returned to the first team. We haven't quite clicked 100% going forward though, because even though we did win that game by 2 goals, I think they should have been a lot more, because we created a lot of chances and just couldn't quite find the back of the net on enough occasions. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, as a Chelsea fan, I am really nervous for this one, but I think there's a lot of reasons why I think this prediction will end the way I do think it will end, and that is because firstly, I think Spurs will be absolutely terrified to lose this game. Secondly, as I said, I think that Chelsea, are not as confident going forward just yet in attack. And of course, Jose Mourinho's style of play, as he usually does, he likes to obviously sit back, as I said, soak up the pressure and try and catch them on the break. But without Harry Kane in the side, it will be a lot harder to do that. And I think that for that reason, or for all of those reasons, I should say, I think this is absolutely perfectly nailed on to be a goalless draw. And for that reason, I've gone with Tottenham 0, Chelsea 0. And yeah, I think that is the easiest 3 points I'm going to get in this gaming prediction series ever, if I'm honest, because yeah, this game just is ending 0-0. Let's all be honest here. And yes, so those are my game week predictions for game week 22. If you want to go and leave your predictions down in the comment section below, please feel free to do so, because I'm very interested to see how you guys think these games will pan out. And yeah, as I said at the start of this video, if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be very much appreciated, because of course we are now looking to hit 1,300 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. And also, if you could leave a like on the video, that would be massively appreciated by myself. And yeah, if we can hit 20 likes, that would be massively appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya.